love the fact that Baku does not transform at all in Kamen Rider Zeztz episode 36. I had kind of forgotten until the very end that he gave up his belt and the crazy capsule, UFO capsule thing he made, because there was so much going on. There was so much action. There was so much agency with Baku himself that it just slipped my mind that he couldn't transform. I was thinking, why isn't he transformed yet? What's he going to do? What's he waiting for? But I also, at the same time, thought this is really cool how he's handling Agent 5 on his own and how he's handling these guards and whatever. Baku was doing a lot of stuff. He still has the dream manipulation power, which he used to save Nox at some point. And it was really neat to see that you take away the ability for our hero character to turn into Kamen Rider. Baku cannot turn into Zeztz, and yet he still retains power, and he's still able to do all the heroic stuff he needs to do, which you could argue very easily makes it even more remarkable and more heroic that he's doing these things without being able to turn into Zeztz, which I think is really cool. So I think one of the cool things about this, and one of the reasons that it works so well, is because throughout Zeztz we've seen Baku using the capsums when he's not transformed in order to do things. Now, the premonition, he was using them in the real world, which was all part of his premonition, which gave us a hint that he could use them in the actual real world, which is where he is now, and where he's mostly using them. I don't recall him using any of the capsums in the dream, actually, in this episode, because Nox came in and saved him, and then Nox used his dream manipulation powers to send him and Nem away, and then once they're in the Zeztz room, he kind of did the same thing. He manipulated the room so that it would open up to let Nox in, but not let the others in. So that's how that was worked around. And then we have their whole conversation in the room, and none of that required any transforming. But anyway, I think it's remarkable that this episode of Zeztz doesn't have him transform. He's able to use the powers, though, without the belt, which I think is really cool. It's funny because it works on a... Does it work on would you say it works on a meta level as well? Because it makes so I like the Zeztz suits. Well, I like the Zeztz suit, the main suit, and I guess Orderum's just okay, honestly. Zeztz Extreme is better. But anyway, I like the suits. I hated the capsules from the beginning. I thought they were super dumb. I kind of liked that they were balls, but once we got more details, we saw them in motion, because I didn't look at the scans or anything. We saw the little 8-bit animations that they have. I just thought, these are dumb. I kind of hate them. Why are we doing this? Obviously, it's for a collectible gimmick, and it's for merchandising, which is where the real money from the show is made, right? So I understand the conceit, but I've had problems with toys. I have my whole heart and soul set of videos that I did, which I might link in the inspector's notes in the pinned comment. We'll see. I probably should. Anyway, yeah, check the inspection notes in the pinned comment. You'll find links to the Heart and Soul series that I did. I'll try to arrange it nicely. There's a playlist, but there's a way to do it even nicer for you, specifically to answer this topic or to discuss this topic. Anyway, I kind of hated the capsules because they were, they're just kind of silly. And then they got sillier, and we're supposed to take them seriously. And it's funny because it clashes so much with this series show. The show is being made for an international audience. I see that means American, but they do have a dub in, is it Portugal or Brazil? Whatever. There's a Portuguese dub of it. That's what matters. I think both those languages speak Portuguese. Anyway. It's for an international audience, and you're going to kind of ruin it by being so toyetic in kind of a non-slick way, in a non-cool way, which, the suits are ridiculous enough. You don't really need to go, and this isn't me being embarrassed to be a fan of Kamen Rider or Tokusatsu or these Henshin hero stories, but well, maybe it is a little bit. I'm not embarrassed to enjoy these stories, but I'm embarrassed by some of the things that are in these stories because they're just so ridiculous. The guys transforming into their suits and fighting and stuff isn't embarrassing or ridiculous. Like the doorknob things that Nox has are fine. Do I like the little floating sigil AR thing in front of him when he twists it around and stuff? No, I think it's an unnecessary effect. He already has a lot of special effects tied in his thing. Whenever I think about creating a Henshin hero character, I try to think, how do I design this so that it's feasible to make on the cheap as Tokusatsu, with in-camera special effects for the most part? How do I avoid using CGI? How do I avoid doing ridiculous things that are going to make it harder to produce? And how do I design it, block it, figure out how to do the transformation call the transformation steps, the rise, even in a way that the characters or the actors are able to perform this easily, and we're able to cut it or record it, cut it, edit it, whatever, easily. I'm not actually working on Henshin Hero projects that are going to be filmed and televised yet. I'm thinking about this because I'm writing books, and as I'm designing these characters and the scenarios for them to write these books out, I'm thinking, well, if it's a complicated jingle and there's all these hand motions, I'm not going to be able to describe that very well in prose. And even if I did, I wouldn't want to. And if this were filmed, what would it look like? Those are the kinds of things I think about when I approach this type of character, this kind of concept. And there's just certain things that you don't do in prose, which is obviously a different medium from television, because they don't make sense. They're not slick, they're not smooth, they're not fast. The fact that I had to sit through the whole, Henshin jingle for multiple Kamen Riders and just deal with it because I wanted to see the cool fight and I wanted to enjoy the cool story, which the fights typically, well, in a good series, the fights come from the character conflict and the emotional story that's going on underneath, and they enrich them. And they're also just entertaining to watch. So, like, those things are necessary, but the gimmicks are not necessary. Kamen Rider survived for many years without gimmicks. I would say Super Sentai obviously went for decades straight, no breaks, with no gimmicks. And they did a good job of it. And you could still sell the changers and the vehicles and the masks and whatever. So you're still able to market these things. Star Wars, which started the whole crazy merchandising toy business based off of a movie or show, movie in this case, just did action figures of the characters. You still have cool suits that you can sell to kids action figures of. You still have the bikes. You still have the roleplay toys. You don't need to go that hard into making things ridiculous. But I say all this because while the capsules are dumb, in my opinion, as far as how they play and the visuals that they have, they're quite silly. What they do and how they operate, both in the dream world and in the real world, is exciting and fascinating, and it adds so much potential to the story and adds so much flexibility and utility to the story itself and what Baku is able to do. We were able to, I was thinking about Iron Man 3. Iron Man 3 is a movie I do not like for many reasons, but one of the things I do like is that we get to see that Tony Stark is so smart that not only was he able to build the Iron Man suit in the cage originally, or the original one, but I meant a cave, not a cage, sorry. But he's also able to use his intelligence to do all sorts of things. He infiltrates some compound or facility or something like that, and he figures out ways to get back to his suits with like low technology. And it's really cool to see, oh, this guy's super capable without being in his suit. Yes, the suit makes him like exponentially more powerful and exponentially more capable, but the guy himself is doing the work. It's not the suit that makes the man, it's the man that makes the suit, literally. And then he makes the suit work, even harder. And we get to see something like that with Baku here, where he's using the capsums in fighting. And he's not only fighting and surviving and overcoming, but he's also reaching out and making alliances, trying to pull people to his side against Code. And he's still challenging Code. And he comes to the realization, which is satisfying, although it's been a while to build up to this, that he has to fight against the Nightmares and Code, both. And I think that's good. He's got, the moral clarity there. And I appreciate that all of this was able to happen without him having to transform. And I think that's really novel. I'd like to see more of that. And I'd like to see the gimmick items used in a way that makes sense for the story and has an actual impact on the story without having to be so toyetic and so ridiculous, and kind of take away from and temper the enthusiasm for general audiences, because I don't think the kids, like, I wanted a RoboCop toy, I wanted Batman toys, I wanted Spider-Man toys when I was a kid because they were cool, not because they had items that sang and made songs. Like, I never got a Batarang, but I sure threw around Frisbees and other things like they were a Batarang, because Batman's Batarang was freaking cool. So yeah, they got to fix something about the toyeticness, because it can detract from the stories in a lot of ways. And I think Zeztz 36 proves that you don't need them to be this ridiculous. Impact really made a sound. Inazuma kind of made a sound, like it said its name, I think, when he activated it. But what was really cool, what really sold it, was the effects that he got from the capsules in using them. And it was just really impressive. Let me know what you think about this, and check the pinned comment for my inspector's notes, where I'm going to dive deeper into this episode.